nose bone into his brain fight.
Yeah.
Alex went to do post-fight interview after Tyson had obliterated Jesse's nose with an uppercut. There was blood all over the ring. And Alex said, Mike, tell me about the uppercut. And Mike said, Captain D'Amato taught me that the purpose of the uppercut is to drive the opponent's nose bone into his brain. I was trying to drive his nose bone into his brain. And I'm standing on the other side of the ring listening to this, headset on. And I thought to myself, oh, my God, look at what I've stumbled into here. This kid is not only going to be the biggest attraction in boxing, he's going to be the biggest attraction in American culture if he can keep coming up with quotes like that. And, of course, within the next few weeks, they all started spilling out. Boxing is a hurt business. Everybody's got a plan until you hit them. All the things that D'Amato had taught him, which he memorized and then reproduced in his media contacts.
One of my favorite TV fights was him versus Marvis Frazier, because it was such a terrifying execution. I'm
giving away too much of the book, Joe. I mean, my publisher would say, wait, don't tell them the whole book.
Come on, people are going to buy it anyway. Don't worry about that.
So Alex Wallow and I lived 5 blocks apart on Upper Fifth Avenue in New York. And when we went to upstate New York for the Tyson fights, of which there were several, we would always ride up in his green Jaguar, and he knew the route. And he would drive, play me his esoteric rock music. You ever heard of Cock Robin? Try him out sometime.
No.
And so all the way up to Albany for the Marvis Frazier fight, Alex is saying to me, I'm thinking of saying in the opening on camera that Mike will knock him out in the first round. Do you think that's too audacious? And I said, well, Alex, you're the expert. I'm just a throw-in blow-by-blow guy who's trying to get my feet wet here. I'm the last person who's going to tell you what it is you should say. So if you believe Mike is going to knock him out in the first round and you're confident saying that, first of all, no one's going to penalize you on Monday if you're wrong. Nobody's going to print some big headline that says Wallow was crazy or something like that. It goes into the wash at that point. And second of all, if you're right, you will get credit for it. If you're right, Rudy Martzke will say so in USA Today. And so that's our position for 2/3 of the trip to Albany. And now in the last 40 or 50 miles, he starts saying, what if I said he's going to knock him out in the first minute? Do you think that's too brave? Same thing. Alex, if you believe he's going to knock him out in the first minute, you go ahead and say he's going to knock him out in the first minute. I'm not here to control you or tell you what to say. Say whatever you want to say. I think I'm going to say that he's going to knock him out in the first minute. So the following day, we do a rehearsal for the opening on camera, and he says he'll knock him out in the first minute. Then when we do the live opening on camera for the show, he gets a little more cautious. And he pulls it back to, there you are.
Look at young, handsome Jim
Alex
Lampley.
Wallow. Yeah.
Look at you.
Hair parted on the right. We'll get to that in a moment. He pulls it back, and when we do it live on camera, he says Mike will knock him out in the first round. Was it 33 seconds or 31 seconds? I think it was 33 seconds. And all the way back to New York, he is moaning and groaning. Why in God's name didn't I say what I really believe? Like, Alex, you said he'd knock him out in the first round.
And you were
You're
right.
going to get credit for that.
Yeah.
You were right. Yeah, but I could have gotten more credit if I'd said what I really believe.
That's such a silly perspective.
I mean, we talk about fighters freezing. Yeah. Marvis froze on Saturday. I mean, on Friday, the day before the fight. Well, Marvis was frozen.
Well, we knew. We knew coming into that fight. We knew. It was a perfect fight for Mike to showcase because Marvis had the giant name because he was Joe Frazier's son, and Joe Frazier had been trash-talking Mike. And
it helped to create what ultimately became
the
myth of Mike Tyson. The notion that he was going to knock everybody out in that way.
Such an execution.
It's partially because of stuff like that Douglas is a 42-1 underdog in Tokyo.
Yes.
When if you looked at the record for the preceding year and a half coming into Tokyo, Mike went the distance with James Bone Crusher Smith.
Right.
Mike went the distance with Tony Tucker.
Right.
Mike went the distance with James Quick Tillis.
Yep.
There were scorers at ringside in upstate New York who had Tillis as the winner in the fight. He went to the last 10 seconds with Jose Ribalta. He went the distance with Mitch Blood Green. What did they all have in common? They were all taller than Mike. Some of them have a right hand that would come over the top where he would have difficulty seeing the delivery. And when you get to Douglas, best athlete of the group, former college basketball player with good feet, had a big right hand. I mean, looking back, pure logic, no way in the world Mike should be a 42-1 favorite against Buster Douglas.
But Buster Douglas had underperformed most of his career and had not been motivated. Then his mother dies.
That's correct. 100% correct. And you're right on point for saying it at this moment.
Yeah, his mother died. And
that lit him up.
And never again.
And Mike was at the height of his differences with Robin Givens.
Right.
You know.
Constant turmoil and partying and feeling invincible.
Nothing that can do more damage to a good man than the wrong woman, right?
Yeah.
And she was the wrong woman.
She's the wrong woman, period. Yeah, that was there's certain women out there like that they can tank your life. Yeah, and unfortunately.
OJ used to say to me, if you want to know what the daughter's going to be like, look at the mother. And if you looked at her mother and the background relative to Dave Winfield and all of that, maybe you could have predicted.
You probably could have.
Or as Merchant said in our on-camera prior to the Tubbs-Tokyo fight, Tyson versus Tubbs in Tokyo, first fight I ever did on HBO. Larry had a line before the fight where he said, this is the beginning of the Robin thing. Cuss had died. Jimmy Jacobs had died. No, Cuss hadn't died. Jimmy Jacobs had died. At any rate.
With Kevin Rooney was already out then, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Larry said, since the beginning of organized boxing, heavyweight champions have often consorted with actresses and never to their benefit. It's a classic Merchant among many classic Merchant lines.
Well,
I love him.
That was one of the best things about you and Merchant and just the entire commentary team at HBO was that you had these intelligent, articulate people involved in what many people think of as the most barbaric of all sports.
Yes.
So it defined it in a very different way.
That's the HBO way.
Yeah.
Elevate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It certainly was elevated.
And HBO's executives were smart enough to see that you can treat it as an intellectual event.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it right, you'll get away with it.
But it has to be with the commentators. It frames everything. The same exact event with crude commentators is not the same experience because you don't get that intelligent, articulate analysis. And a guy like Larry Merchant, who'd been around boxing for his entire life and had a deep understanding of it, and then it's even the funny back and forth banter between Larry and George Foreman when they would disagree on things. It was
brilliant, absolutely
amazing.
Brilliant. And I'm very proud to say, not blowing my own horn, but Larry and George in particular, there's a sports television columnist in the New York Daily News named Bob Raisman, Raissman. And at some point in that arc, Raisman wrote in his TV sports column in the Daily News, Lampley, Merchant, and Foreman are the greatest three-man broadcasting team in the history of sports television. Now think about that.
That's amazing.
This is not Monday Night Football. This is HBO boxing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I mean, and so he was saying, in effect, this is better than Gifford, Meredith, and Cosell.
Wow.
And you know, I was very, very flattered by that. Which I should have been.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, having a great team like that, and it was also there was the flow where you guys had worked together so often. You really knew.
And there was the between round stuff.
Yes.
What set Showtime and HBO apart from ABC, CBS, and NBC? No commercials.
Right.
And no commercials means you get one of the most meaningful and communicative parts of the narrative, which is what goes on in the corner between rounds.
Right.
So you're watching Tyson Douglas, for instance, and you see these two novice trainers struggling with a condom filled with water,
to
try
no
to
end swell.
to try to do something to ease the swelling in his eye. No end swell.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I remember Ray nearly fell off his chair when he saw that.
It's just so hard to believe that you could achieve the highest level of combat sports, the heavyweight champion of the world, and yet have this really rank amateur corner.
There was so much that was taken for granted about Mike.
Yes.
During that stage of his career.
Yeah.
The only person in that camp, once D'Amato died, the only person, and Jimmy died, the only person in that camp who was really aware of how vulnerable he could be was Mike. Mike was a boxing genius. Mike knew much more than those guys about how to prepare for a fight, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But again, before Tokyo, he was distracted.
Yeah. He was
Thoroughly distracted.
And it comes with success, all the trappings. I mean, he was just constantly,
You know Mike, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you had him in here?
Oh, a couple times. Yeah.
One of the most lovable people
I
in
love
the
him
world.
to death. Yeah. He's great.
You can't not love Mike
No.
if you know him.
No, if you know him, I mean, the first time I met him, it's hard to believe he's really in the room. You're like, I can't believe he's real. Like, he's right there. This is Mike
Right.
Tyson. 'Cause me as a child, I remember when I was a kid, I guess I wasn't a child, I'm only a year younger than him, but when he lost to Buster Douglas, I didn't watch it until after the fight. I watched a replay of it, and I still expected him to win. You know how crazy that is? Like, that's the kind of aura.
So
that
you've
Mike
read
Tyson
in the
had.
paper and on the web that he's lost, but you're still expecting him to win.
I remember I heard about it in a gas station. Someone told me in a gas station.
And I can't believe this is true.
I was getting gas, and I heard, did you hear Mike Tyson got knocked out? And I remember pumping gas on, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what? Like, Buster Douglas knocked out Mike Tyson? What? For real?
So we talked about the call of Foreman Moore and where that call came from. The other call that is on that same level in terms of, people remembering and stuff like that is that call. And you just came very close to identically articulating what my call was because, I'm watching the rounds in Tokyo, and I've arrived in Tokyo with firm opinion that Mike is going to knock this guy out in 1, 2, 3 rounds, something like that. And as the rounds go on and you're watching the debacle unfold, the, water in the rubber glove to try to stop the swelling and stuff like that, you realize that the preparation might not be all there. And Douglas is getting more confident. And Douglas is landing his jab, et cetera, et cetera.
And hooking off the jab.
And I mean, people think that he knocked him out with a right hand. It was the left hook that did the damage. The left hook was thunderous, and Mike stumbled to his side. But at any rate, I'm sitting there in Tokyo. It's 10:30 or 11 o'clock in the morning. There are 34,000 people seated around me making no noise whatsoever.
Right.
The culture of a Japanese
Yes.
sports event. It's as though they are at an opera,
Yeah.
and that's just cultural. It's the way they are. And as that count is rising, 5, 6, 7, and it's abundantly clear that Mike's not going to get up. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what am I going to say about this? The very first live fight I ever attended was the biggest upset in boxing history. And now, here in front of me, 12, 14 feet away, is the result that's going to supplant that as the biggest upset in boxing history.
Wow.
So what do I say? And I've told this story many times. If you've heard it, I apologize for repeating. But I was developing a golf relationship with the greatest actor of my generation, Jack Nicholson, who became a close friend and later saved my career, but that's another story. And I had asked Jack on the golf course about 2 or 3 weeks before Tokyo. I said, Jack, when you're going to the set to deliver the fulcrum line in the movie, when you're going to the set to do the one thing that everybody in the audience is going to remember, when you're getting ready to go deliver, you can't handle the truth. what is it you have on your mind? What's your mantra? He said, Lamp, same thing I've been saying to myself ever since I first went to acting class. Don't overact. So I'm in Tokyo. The count reaches 4 or 5. And I hear in the back of my mind Jack's voice. Don't overact. And that call became, Mike Tyson has been knocked out. In about that tone of voice. I wanted to make it as matter-of-fact as possible because there was nothing I could do to elevate it by screaming or shouting or delivering any kind of window dressing, etc. It was what it was.
Right.
Mike Tyson has been knocked out. That was that.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Now that you said it, I remember that. Wow.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that you remember.
It was energetic but matter of fact.
Well, there it is.
It's over. It's over. Mike Tyson has been knocked out.
All right, so I did shout a little bit. Yeah, I did shout it a little bit. All right,
I
give myself too much credit for the matter of fact, but that, of
Boy.
course, that's my younger voice. It was a little bit higher. You know?
That was what an
Octavio Meran was the name of the referee.
I just remember Buster Douglas winning that fight, thinking, "Man, what happens to him now? Now he's
well.
the
What
king of the
happens to
world."
him, of course, is that he goes on a celebration rampage. He puts on, I don't know, 40, 50 pounds, something like that. He tries to train them off, but not effectively enough.
Then he gets knocked
He goes
out by
into the ring
Holyfield.
against Holyfield, and Holyfield delivers one left hook, one perfect counter left hook in the first round, and we're out of there.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was a left hook. I thought it was a right hand.
Might have been a right hand.
I don't remember.
I could be wrong.
See if you can find it.
Might have been a right hand, but they'll find it.
Yeah, Jamie will find it. But he just never reached those heights again. That was it. He just never. I mean,
money.
Yeah, I mean, also like the
money,
all the,
money, food.
Yeah, he got real fat.
He was an addictive eater.
Here it is.
Okay, let's see.
Counter right.
Right hand. You're right.
Yeah.
Then there was a left hook following, but
I don't think the left
right
hook
hand is the
landed.
one that did it.
I think the left hook missed.
Yeah, the left hook missed. You're
Yeah.
right. All right, so 1 for Rogan, 0 for Lampley.
It's cemented in my mind because I remember. What year was that?
Well,
Yeah.
it's 1990 when Buster knocks out Mike.
Was it?
Yeah. No,
90? No. It
No.
had to be earlier than that.
Huh? No,
Was
it was. It was 90.
Was
it? Was
it?
February 10, 1990.
Wow.
February 10 in the United States, February 11 in Tokyo.
Okay, right. And so this is probably 91 then? Then he.
It might have been 90.
Yeah.
And I think it was later in 1990.
Yeah. I just remember. When someone does something extraordinary and rise to the occasion, I always root on them. I always root for them. Like, wow, he's going to turn his life around. He's going to be great.
So now you're rooting for Buster to beat Holyfield.
Yeah. Well, and also I was a giant Holyfield fan too, so it was one of those conflicted fights. And Holyfield to me was extraordinary because what he did with Mackie Shilstone and his training.
October 25, 1990.
There it is. Nice.
This time I was right.
Yeah. It was one of those things where Holyfield was one of the first guys that really embraced weightlifting. And I remember as a young fighter, I was always told, if you lift weights, it'll slow you down. Weights will make you stiff. Weights will slow you down. You should never lift weights. And so I listened to that, and I never lifted weights. And then I remember watching Holyfield train for his heavyweight debut, thinking, God, I remember his fight with Dwight Muhammad Qawi. Remember that fight? Mm-hmm. Incredible fight. Like that was when he was a cruiserweight. And I was thinking, how is this guy going to go up to heavyweight? How is this going to work? And then
strong mind.
Oh,
very strong mind.
Unquestionably.
You want to see Evander do something? Tell him he can't do it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But also one of the first applications of real modern science in regards to strength and conditioning.
Yep.
What Mackie Shilstone was doing was like very revolutionary.
Yep.
And to see him do all these crazy strength and cardio routines and putting all that mass on and seeing all the doubters and naysayers.
So which other fighter looked at that and realized who Mackie was? Bernard Hopkins.
Right.
Genius.
Well, he worked with quite a few fighters, didn't he, Mackie? I believe Mackie worked with quite a few fighters after that whole.
He worked with quite a few fighters.
Everybody saw like that the results were there,
Right.
so
Yeah,
everybody
exactly.
kind of changed their opinion on that.
Did he
kind of
work with
stuff.
any MMA guys?
I don't know. Probably. There's probably a few.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, MMA guys are led. I mean, this is with MMA. You have the grappling aspect of it. Without strength and conditioning, you really can't compete. It's not really possible at this day and age. Everyone uses strength and conditioning. There's very few fighters that just train using skill, train skills. Like George St. Pierre did that for a certain period of his career.
I wonder if there's anybody left in boxing who trains just using the gym skills. There were a lot of them when I was first involved in the sport who would never have touched a weight.
Right.
You know, they subscribed totally to the notion that was negative.
Right. And the worst case, I mean, they definitely did calisthenics, but that was it. It was just body weight exercises, you know, which brings us to Crawford, which I think is really interesting. The Crawford-Canelo fight.
Beyond interesting. Fascinating.
Fascinating. Because how does Crawford compete with that size? And, you know, we have to recognize, okay, well, when Canelo fought Floyd, it was 152 pounds, right? So he had dropped down, which was a struggle for him, which is why Floyd was so brilliant in getting him to go down to 152, because he knew he would be drained.
Was it 52 or 54?
Well, the weight class, I believe, was 54, but I believe the clause in the contract for that fight was that he get down to 52.
You're ahead of me.
Let's see if that's true. Find out if that's true. I'm pretty sure that that's true, that they had a fight at one.
I love fact-checking on the fly.
Yeah, it's interesting. That was a struggle. The 54 was a struggle. Now Canelo goes all the way up to 68 and then even to 75 and now back down to 68, whereas Crawford is leapfrogging. He goes to super middleweight.
47 to 54 and now to 68.
And the Madrigal fight in 54 is
iffy.
Difficult fight.
Yeah.
Difficult fight. 152.
52.
Yeah,
you were
catch
right.
Weight.
Joe Rogan scores again.
Yeah, well, I have a goofy memory. It works a lot of the time, but sometimes not. It's like sometimes it's like
I don't think you could do this podcast without
accurate.
having a spectacular memory.
Sometimes it's super accurate, and sometimes it's just terrible. I don't understand why, but certain things I do remember, and I do remember it because of the weight cutting thing. Because I remember thinking, like, what a brilliant move to get him to do that. The same thing that Gervonta Davis did with Ryan Garcia.
Yes.
Like, you can't rehydrate.
Right.
Like, which is like
no rehydration clause.
Sucker bet. That's such a sucker bet. You're gonna lose, but it's like the same thing with Pacquiao taking the fight when it's
and
a
some
bum
of that.
shoulder.
Don't you think
money.
some of that is Tank reading Ryan's personality and playing him a little bit?
Oh yeah. You're fucking with him. Yeah, you're giving him other things.
Tank
to think
is
about.
A brilliant con artist.
Oh, he's so good.
Yeah,
he's so good. And boy, the Lamont Roach fight. Ooh.
Well, that was a knockdown.
Ooh, 100% was a knockdown.
And you
have to call that a knockdown.
Dramatic mistake by the referee.
Without that, you have a decision victory for Roach, and he's a superstar. Now you have this fucking draw that they have to fight again. But now Gervonta knows what's coming. They had fought in the amateurs, correct?
Well, they both have knowledge now.
Yes.
You know, Roach knows that his counterpunching can be effective against Tank, and Tank knows that he has to make an adjustment if he's going to land a power shot.
Well, it's also Tank is another guy that has experienced all the trappings of fame, all the success and the money and, you know, all the jewelry and all the craziness and the ladies. And
Roach hasn't.
And Roach has not. And Roach is a hungry motherfucker who can really fight.
Yep.
He can really fight. And he should have got his flowers after that fight. And, you know, a lot of the boxing people recognize, like, that was a knockdown. But forever in the history books, it's not a knockdown. When you take a punch to the face and then you take a knee, that is a fucking knockdown. Period. End of story. I don't care if you got your hair fucking perm stuff
It's
in
like
your eyes.
a literary idiosyncrasy, okay? And both of our sports, boxing and MMA, are littered throughout their history with these things that are egregiously unfair at the moment, but also prompt us to remember the fight and remember both fighters. If you're a fighter who has been victimized by a severe injustice in one of your fights, the audience is going to remember you sympathetically and be more interested in your next fight.
Absolutely.
So this is an entertainment enterprise, and anything that contributes to your legend is ultimately going to pay you back somewhere down the road.
Yes, that's true. There's definitely something to that. And then, so Lamont will have a lot of fans on his side going to that second
big
fight.
time. Yeah. In fact, I would put the fight in D.C., although I don't think Tank would want to do that.
Is
But
that fight scheduled?
not to my knowledge,
See
not
if
to my awareness.
Gervonta Davis.
I'm totally
Lamont Roach.
focused on Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford at this particular moment.
Are you calling that fight?
No? All right, at least, wait a minute. Let me say I don't know.
You don't
I
know.
don't know. There was a
This
news
is Netflix,
conference in
correct?
New York yesterday, and they announced that Max Kellerman is part of the broadcast team.
Okay.
So
So that's only one person they've announced. And this is
obviously, I'd love to call the fight, but I don't know yet.
August 16th.
Scheduled for
Las
August
Vegas.
16 in Las Vegas.
Wow. Boy, I might go to that.
I might go to that.
Maybe I'll go with you.
Maybe we should.
That would be fun.
Hey, we're getting along really well here,
Oh,
aren't
yeah,
we?
for sure. Yeah. No.
So I enjoy the conversation. It would be fun to go sit at a live fight, wouldn't it?
Oh, no. Is that a UFC weekend? God damn it. Let me check real quick. Because it might be. Yep. Shit.